welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste, assalamu alaikum, good evening or good morning to all of you, depending on the time zone in which you live. Because as we know, there are always people from all over the world in this meeting. I am Shakira Mohammed of Trinidad and Tobago, a teacher for the past 15 years, and we welcome you to the 143rd edition of our Zoom public meeting. We wish to sincerely thank all those who have contributed in whatever way to the success of this ongoing Pan-Indo-Caribbean and Pan-Indian Diaspora Global Project. For 142 unbroken continuous weeks, we have been here every single Sunday. In the past 2 years and 11 months, we have featured over 478 presenters from all parts of the world, speaking on 142 topics. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a weekly forum being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Centre, a legally registered research and publishing company operating since 2010. And like today, we often partner with the Amina Ghafoor Institute for the study of indentureship and its legacies, led by Professor David Dabidine, and we welcome him here today also. In order to continue this weekly program and to make it bigger and better, we are asking you to kindly give us your suggestions as well as donations, and you can contact Dr. Kumar Mahabir for details. Ladies and gentlemen, I, together with our IT manager behind the scenes, Ravin Ramsingh, will be hosting the program for today's session as Dr. Mahabir and Shalama Mohammed are in transit currently. So this public meeting today or tonight will not take the usual form of a panel presentation followed by questions and answers. Instead, it will take the form of pre-recorded films together with live commentaries from the filmmakers themselves and live participation from you in the audience by typing your comments in the Zoom chat, which is at the base of your computer screen. Also, we know that everyone enjoyed the last week's presentation of the songs, and there was some requests for us to find some way to play it again. So we will try to accommodate everyone today, all right? To avoid trolls invading our program, our IT manager, Ravin Ramsingh, has muted everyone. Speakers are advised not to admit anyone, not to unmute anyone, and not to allow anyone to share their screens. And this virtual event should not exceed 2 hours. So our topic today or tonight is Searching for Ancestral Families in India, a Filmic Journey. So the art of filmmaking is such a powerful tool to use to tell our stories in order to connect with our ancestral families of our Indian diaspora. The younger generation especially favor looking at films based on real-life stories of our ancestors' journeys and exploring and building connections from wherever we are across the globe to our motherland. Many of the families of the indentured laborers have been trying to search for their ancestral families in India and have been successful in doing so. So, ladies and gentlemen, we do have with us a filmmaker from Trinidad and Tobago, and he is GIDEON HANOOMANSINGH. He was a news anchor and reporter, as well as a CNN World Report contributor and a former government director of communications and media. He's currently a documentary filmmaker with Greenworld Television. So welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for the opportunity to be on the panel and to share whatever information is required as we go along.
Thank you so much. We know that you have made many films. The one that we are going to present today is in connection with Mr. Mahadev Mangaru. Now, if you can give us a background concerning this video before we play, that would be great. I know he is from Trinidad, South Trinidad, Barrack 4. And you know that the ICC does have a monthly presentation of elders who we do interview. And this is also, as you are presenter, related and connected to our elders project. So if you can give us a feedback, and then Ravin will show the video.
Okay, thank you very much. Mahadev Mangaru, unfortunately, is no more. He passed a year and some months ago. But I was fortunate to be at a function hosted by the Indian High Commission in Port of Spain, where I encountered Mr. Mangaru, who I think at the time was 90 years old. And he was so energetic and so wonderful an individual with whom to speak. I decided to journey to his home in Barrackpore. Barrackpore is that village in the southeastern part of the country where sugarcane was a mainstay for many, many years until the industry came to a halt. But what was interesting about Mahadev Mangaru is that he remembered all his stories. His father passed when he was pretty young. He became the breadwinner among his siblings. His mother died subsequently at a young age. And so he took on the responsibility of looking after the children, his siblings. But he kept on having a very close connection with his ancestral history, and that made him somewhat of uh, a kind of encyclopedia in the village when it came to Indian cultural matters. He was a Ramayan singer. He would be involved in the Chautal. He would be involved in Phagwa. He would be involved in Diwali. Of course, everything related to Indian culture as related to him from his ancestors, he carried on until, well, pretty much close to the end of his life. Because when I captured him singing, and you'll see some of that in the video that you're going to be presenting, he was 90 years old,
Wow.
bordering 91. He was the kind of person who never stood idle. At 91, he was there cutlassing his yard. What is interesting about this man is that he he uh, he made himself one of these mobile cane juicers. He went, he got some of his friends to assist him, and he built this cane juicer. When I went there, he was now completing the cane juicer. And he said to me, "You are very fortunate, as I am very fortunate." So I said, "Why?" He said, "Because it is only now completed, and you will be the first one to witness its operation." And he did this out of love and admiration for his cultural upbringing. He worked in the sugar canes, and he decided he will do something for the younger generations of Barrackponians that they will not uh, ever forget what the history was in that village. So he said, I made this cane juicer so that all those who still have sugar canes in the village will bring the sugar canes to his home and have an opportunity to do the cane uh, juicing, which is what he did. A very interesting man. You will see as we go along. One other interesting aspect of that video is the capturing of Captain Ivan Sahai. He is a retired captain from Emirates. He lived in Dubai for quite a long time. His aviation career began here in Trinidad with our national carriers, BWIA, and subsequently Caribbean Airlines. And then he got this job and he went to Dubai. He is also in the interview. He's also in this piece, because I felt, because he's from Barrackpore, it was so wonderful to show his accomplishments and to show that he has remained very connected to his village of Barrackpore. I think that's enough an introduction to this little piece that we're about to see. And welcome to Glimpses of History, as we journey into the timeline of the Indian presence in Trinidad and Tobago over a period of 175 years. In today's show, the remarkable story of 93-year-old Mahadev Mangaru of Barrackpore, who continues to be an energetic cultural activist, reciting the Ramayana and singing the songs of his ancestors who came from India as indentured immigrants assigned to the Bronte estate. The name Barrackpore is well written in the literature of Indian history. The town, near Kolkata in West Bengal, was a military center under British occupation and was the scene of several rebellions during the 19th century, most notably the 1857 mutiny that sent many sepoys fleeing for their lives, some boarding ships to the West Indies. And it's quite possible that Barrackpore in southeast Trinidad may have acquired its name from these Indian infantrymen who were trying to escape the wrath of British imperial retaliation. But the Barrackpore we know is 15,000 kilometers from where Mangal Pandey sparked off the first war for Indian independence. It's a community deep in the jheels of rural Trinidad, once called Brampur, with a natural spring that is as bountiful today as it was when European colonizers discovered it.
I know this spring here, right? The old parents who we come and meet here, them say this spring was developed by some Spanish people, the old ahead then, right? The old ahead. And they have to use this water to carry it out for all the villagers to use.
No longer in active communal use, but this mother's milk spring is a savior on days when taps run dry. Back in the day, the village supplied oil to the Pointe-à-Pierre refinery and canes to the St. Madeleine sugar factory. Barrackpore is home to international cricketers Darren Ganga and Jason Mohammed.
4 from 4. Oh, he smashed that! He smashed that a long way! Wow! What a way to finish this game!
It gave to the world of aviation Captain Ivan Sahai, who pilots one of Emirates Airlines' largest commercial jetliners.
You see, there's a history behind it because coming from a little village in Trinidad, Barrackpore, it has been my greatest challenge becoming a pilot. Because I didn't come from a very wealthy home, or certainly not a wealthy home at all. And just getting my license was a big challenge because after I left school, even though I got a government job, I had to leave that because it wasn't paying enough, and I never would have been able to become a pilot if I had stayed there. So I had to do different jobs, odd jobs, working in the oil industry in order to get enough money to go and learn to fly. And that was hard work at the time. But at the end of the day, I've achieved what I wanted to do. And my parents, who are now deceased, they were very, very proud of me that I started off in a career that I wanted to do, and I actually got there.
Billy, as he is known to villagers, and his Trinbagonian colleagues began their flying careers with national carriers BWIA and Caribbean Airlines, before jetting off to greener pastures in the Arabian Gulf. In significant ways, they've contributed to more than a century of aviation in this archipelagic Caribbean island. But unquestionably, one of the gems of this bucolic village is Mahadev Mangaru, who at 93 is a spirited cultural enthusiast et al.
The song says, "Hey man," the man that mind, listen to our saying. Hey man, karle bichar, bichar means think. Think well what he is doing. Karle bichar. Patta tute dar se, how the leaf does break from the tree branch and go away far away. Just like when the wife and husband, if the wife dead, the husband in trouble. When the husband dead, the wife in trouble. Karle bichar, think that well. He say, Arab Kharab ki darb hai. Arab Kharab means multi-millionaire. Uday astle raj. Uday means sunrise. Ast means sundown. And when that astle raj, Tulsi ek din marna hai. One day you have to die. I hai kaune kaj. What use the multi-millionaire come to? Become no use. He say, Parvar kahe sun patta more baat. The tree, this universe is like a tree. And the soul is like the leaf. So when the soul, the tree leaving the soul, the tree is telling him, say, listen, the rule and regulation of this universe is koi aave, koi jaat. Some will born and some will die. He said, Kala kare so aaj hi kar le. What you have to do tomorrow, try and do it today. Because this time wouldn't come back. Today and any time now, this time when we day here wouldn't come back.
Where did you learn these songs?
Good question. Bina satasanga viveka na hoi. Rama kripa binu sulabha na soi. If you don't have good company, you cannot get good teaching. I keep mostly old people company. I learn these with them. Dina bandhu ati midul subhavu.
He is equally versed in the Ramayana and derives much pleasure in reading and explaining the Hindu scriptures.
It's come like you doing a satsang. You come a leader. Well, everybody start to consider you. And they start to listen to what you say. Well, then they go on. He say, Santa kaheya saniti prabhu, suti purana ya sagao, hoihena bimala bibeka gurusan ke durao. If you're going to school and you've been far from the teacher, could you learn anything? You won't learn. Because when he tells you something here, they quite over there, when they quite you listen to you can't learn. Guru is the teacher. So you have to be close to the teacher. Who know little bit, you have to be together with them. Then you go learn and you can learn. So I keep the old people company. And I get to learn a little bit.
Like most in rural Trinidad, Mahadev Mangaru had a rough upbringing. having lost both parents at an early age.
That time I didn't have no money. My father was to sell cane, 9 shillings a ton for cane, and mining 9 shillings. And mother died in young days, father died in young days, and he lived with. So we had to fight up ourselves.
But this iconic Brampurian will shoulder the challenges of an impoverished young man with adult responsibilities and dedicate his life in the service of his siblings.
And 2 brothers smaller than me and 2 sisters smaller than me. I had to take care of them. Right? And you had to walk. They weren't, people didn't reach that time to have, well, you go in the parlor, you go buy this and that. You had to plant everything and eat and drink, and then we there take care of them children, mind animal, mind fowl, dog and all kind of things, and make little change to buy goods and planting around your house, baygon, tomatoes, okra.
Though daunting a task, he would draw from the knowledge of his seniors in the hope of emulating his father.
To keep up on my father's character, he was a Ramayan man, Chautal man, and he said was to Jari children and things. And I learned from himself. And balance where I didn't learn from him, I take that from the book, because I didn't know to read. So I learn, and put it in my head. And put that in my head now, I could assist some of them.
In the course of time, he would learn the power of the mantras, in particular Sanskrit prayers, through which he would become a healing heart with helping hands. I too was a recipient of his potent curing sanskar. It's called the jhari, using sacred Hindu prayers as a healing sanskar for all types of ailment. And though medical science seemed a little apprehensive, it really works. Like when Mr. Mangru was called to the rescue of a little girl who was stung by a scorpion.
They got in the hospital, he had no medicine. They take it to San Fernando right now. So them come from San Fernando and they will come and catch me up. He said, Congo, so thing happen. So when them reach San Fernando, me and I'll reach right there. So now, he said, well, the nurse and them waiting for the patient. So he tell me, a jari, the chair. I sit on a jari. And when the doctor and them come and visit the child, he said, but nothing wrong to the child, get you home. And they come, the child, get good. He said, prayers. When you learn prayers, it does work. But bata bisawasa yasalani dharma. If you believe it, it's truth.
Not all species are deadly, but the thick-tailed scorpion that is prevalent in Trinidad and Tobago carries a lethal venom. But Mangaru believes that divine intervention worked in favor of the little girl.
Any child sick, you doubt me. I went to the San Fernando, the child sick. So much a thing they have in the nose and ears and things. And I tell you, long time they capas. Yeah, I tell you, when I done already, while you carry the child, they take out everything. When the doctor come, he say, what you do? You actually need nothing, what you do? He said, the man child feeling good. But that's God work, not me, no. That's he.
His insightful knowledge of the Hindu scriptures is fortified through a collection of books, referenced before his kathas, and when he needs to verify religious storytelling of local pundits.
Well, when I go in satsang, and I hear somebody really say they in that book, and I get me little change, I chip out a little bit and I buy one. Sometimes I borrow one. Sometimes a fella dead, they bring so much give me. So I pick out from them. I take the good one. You know? And what could I keep in my head, I keep. And balance up, I always sit, I throw it away anywhere, dig a hole and bury it.
A few years short of his 100th birthday, Mahadev Mangaru isn't giving up quite easily. When we got to his home, he was preparing for some kitchen garden chores.
I grew up in this. I had to say born in this too. Because when father and mother left you, you had to look for the work, and you had to work. And from there you had to help yourself. So helping myself all the time. I didn't know. I don't know how long I still have to do it yet.
He designed a mini 2-pin sugarcane juicer with assistance from machine operator Baldat Budram of Kunjal, adamant that it must be as manual as possible, with an improvement on his old tree-type extractor.
Well, you know, we cane used to drink, so we had know how to get it, so I plan to make a mill like this. And this is a local make. And we started thinking I make it up, I get the help with the machine shop, help me to make the roller and so on. And then I get the welder to help me cut this iron and fit it up. And I figured that the best thing is to put it in a little stand. So when we put up this little stand, well then we start to put in cane and start to grind. And when we done grind cane, now we make juice. We drink with ice. And we start to learn to make the bheli, you know the bheli, the round bheli, sugar ball. We start to make that. And I tried to make sugar, but the sugar come out too fine.
His generosity extends to the village and anyone who wants pure sugarcane juice, but with a few conditions.
Well, you know, everybody get to know, well, where do you go to there? Hey, boy, you make a meal, yes, we want to come to Granted. So I said, well, come now, man. You know, I said, well, show them what to do, and they grind the cane and they gone. You know, and so he remained back. Well, a couple of years, it broke down. So the whole up, I do nothing to it. But then now I catch myself, I say, no, let me make it and leave it here now. So it's in the yard now, them children go grind home to cane. They go plant 2 hill cane, they go have their own cane in the neighbor. Then they ask me if you put up the mill. I say yes.
Coming into the world with nothing, but leaving this labor of love for succeeding generations.
When I make this and I bring it here the day before, I bring it in mill, I feel satisfied in myself that so long it was done, and now I get it back to come. Yeah? So I'm glad to bad. And then you coming in the picture, make it more better.
Cheers. Cheers. Cane juice, pure cane juice from Mahadev Mangaru's mill in Barrackpore.
Sweet and nice.
Though he refrains from speaking about awards and citations, we captured a few as testament of his devotion to religion and culture.
He was an orphan at an early age. He worked
in 2018, Mahadev Mangaru was among several Trinidadian nationals of Indian ancestry to have been honored by the Indian High Commission in Port of Spain, receiving a special handcrafted Khadi Angavastram or shawl and a personalized message from India's Minister of External Affairs, Srimati Sushma Swaraj.
He loved teaching the glories of Sri Ramchandra Ji.
He was overwhelmed by the gesture, repaying them in the language of his ancestors.
वो लोग को धन भाग ये ऐसे समझ करके और कोई भक्तों के लिए अंग वस्त्र भेज दिया है भगवान उस सब पर रक्षा करे और दिन दिन उस सब के कामना बढ़ते रहे उस सब के जय हो bless them.
So can you sing us one more song?
घरिया ये काली बदरिया हो रामा गगन घन कर जय
घरिया ये काली बदरिया हो रामा गगन घन भर जय
घरिया ये काली बदरिया हो रामा गगन घन कर जय
देखिया ये काली बदरिया हो रामा गगन घन कर जय
गगन घन कर जय गगन घर कर जय जमुना जल बरस
गगन घन कर जय गगन घन कर जय यमुना जल भरके
गगन घन कर जय गगन घन कर जय जमुना जल बरस
गगन घन कर जय गगन घन कर जय यमुना जल भरके
काली बदरिया हो राम गगन घन कर जय
काली बजरिया हो राम गगन घन कर जय
काली बदरिया हो राम गगन घन कर जय
आई काली बजरिया हो राम गगन घन कर जय
भरत नयन भुज दक्षिण हो रमा
भरत नयन बजुरा छिन हो राम
भरत भजन भुज दक्षिण हो रमा
भरत नयन बजुरा छिन हो राम
फर कहीं बार हो राम गगन घन कर जय
फरकत बारही बार हो राम गगन घन कर जय
जान सकुन मन हर कहत हो रमा जान हर कहित हो रमा
जान कुचल मन हर शक्ति हो राम
लागे करन विचार हो राम गगन घन कर जय
लागे करन विचार हो राम गगन घन कर जय
घरिया काली बदरिया हो राम गगन घन कर जय
आई काली बदरिया हो राम गगन घन कर
हरि हो गगन घन कर जय गगन घन कर जय यमुना जल बरस
हरि हो घन घन कर यमुना जल बरस यमुना जल बरस
घरिया काली बदरिया हो राम गगन घन जल
आई काली बदरिया हो राम गगन घन कर
बम बोलो अयोध्या नाथ सिया पति रामचंद्र की जय
What an amazing story about a modest but remarkable man. Mahadev Mangru is not simply the grandson of indentured immigrants. Like them, he possesses an inquisitive mind with a fighting spirit. This glimpse of who he is tells the story of a man who made good the gift of life, using its bounty to the benefit of others. I'm Gideon HANOOMANSINGH. Thank you for watching. Amazing, isn't it?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now I know Swasti might be wondering at times what was he saying. And yes, it required some interpretations for people outside of the culture of Barrackpore and Trinidad and Tobago. But I wanted him to tell his story in his own way and his own language.
That was wonderful. I agree. He did it in his own way. Was so energetic at that age, at 93 at that time. So that was amazing. Thank you so very much. And thank you for creating these films and being of service to Trinidad and Tobago and to our diaspora and the whole. Thank you so very much, sir.
My pleasure, and I will continue to forge on. I was looking at a television program, Wheel of Fortune, recently, and there was this Fijian Indo participant who got a trip a prize trip to Antigua. And the host asked him, "Do you know where Antigua is?" And he said, "I don't have a clue." I wondered if the host had asked him if he knew where Trinidad was, because we have similar cultural strings and veins, if he would have remembered or known anything about Trinidad and Tobago. My quest is to let the world know about us and what exists in this country of ours.
Well, thank you so very much. And we do have persons from Fiji. Chand, hello, welcome. Chand visited last year when ICC, we hosted some persons, and it was a beautiful week that we had last August. So this year we are currently going to Suriname. So for anyone who wishes to join us, we can send that link to anyone. So you can Chan, are you here? Are you able to speak? Sometimes she does not have connection, but she is also from Fiji. And she had a wonderful time visiting Trinidad last year with us.
Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
All right, well, I'm going to continue with our next film. And this is from SHUNDELL PERSAUD. She was born in Guyana and currently in New York. So SHUNDELL, are you here with us? Are you able to hear us?
Yes. Hi, thank you for having me.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Greetings.
So your film, it's Once More Removed, A Journey Back to India. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I can. So I currently live in Los Angeles. And I work in film and TV production here. And I grew up in New York, though. My family moved to New York in the 80s, like many other Guyanese people at the time. And we'd been in Guyana for between 4 and 5 generations, depending on which side of our family you're looking at. And I was graduating college. I was about 21. And as you can tell, that was a long time ago. I'm far from 21 now. The film is actually about 20 years old. So almost. I was graduating from college. I was about 21, and I was setting out to start a career, start a life for myself. But I wanted to know more about this Indian ancestry of mine. Why is it that we look Indian, but really we don't have any, connection to India? I think some of our people in Suriname, in Mauritius, for example, they still speak the native languages that their ancestors spoke when they came over the Kalapani. But in Guyana, we don't speak Bhojpuri or Hindi, or most of us, maybe some of the older generations, but certainly it was not something that was passed on. So I wanted to just figure out, what is this, Indianness, which it's kind of, we have one leg there and one leg here, and then we're in New York. It was all just a puzzle waiting to be put together. So what I did is I gathered information from all of, bits and pieces from families. I made this gigantic family tree, and I went back to the National Archives of Guyana, and the British had kept documents, which most of you know on this forum, since everyone here is, this is your area of interest. They kept these documents, and I was able to find the documents for my ancestors who had come from India. And it was really challenging, because in order to be accurate, you really had to find like a birth certificate, or in my case, we found a will of my forefather that came from India. His name was PERSAUD, and he came in 1886 on a ship. I'm blanking on the name of the ship right now, but it's all in the film. So, and what I did with those ship records is I actually went back to India, and I hired a local team in India and a camera crew, and we actually went back to the villages that my family left from. And I met people who were descendants of my relatives that left, and it was great. It was wonderful. And all these years later, I'm so happy that people are interested in this, film that I made 20 years ago when I was in college, or just graduating college. So yeah, I'm happy to present it to you all. I don't know if we'll get time to watch the entire thing, but maybe we'll watch some of it. And there's a link on the chat if you wanted to watch the entire thing. I put it on YouTube, so it's free for everyone to watch. And I'd be happy to answer questions or hear what you all think about it afterwards.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. So Raven?
Calcutta is a chaotic symphony of sound and color. It has twice the population of New York. It's loud, run down, with generations of history written on its walls. Hinduism is practiced in ways I've never seen. Religion and society seem to coexist here in a vibrant mixture of life and culture.
This place is important for performing rituals for the ancestors or the people who were dead in the past.
Because my mom and dad, they think, why do you have an attachment to your forefathers?
Exactly.
And even I don't understand it.
Yeah. As a Hindu, you have. That's why you came back. And you came back to the same place where your great-great-grandfather Pathya and Lutavan and Situl Prasad might have taken bath here. I mean, this is sacred for every Hindu, but of course, the place looks a little ugly. You can't say dirty, but, it is sacred for the Hindus and as well as the Pandits here. He will perform the puja and do it, Both hands. Sit now, sit.
बुद्धवार से निकाय गोत्र याद है क्या नाम अपना की नाम
Shindel.
से ये ऐसे निकालना पड़ेगा ये आप
ठीक है इस तरह यहीं बैठिए थोड़ा मंत्रा तो थोड़ा जोर से बोलिए ना Yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, he plus. See, what he said now, the Pandit has recited mantra for your ancestors, and he said your name and all your ancestors.
Oh my God. I grew up in New York City. In 2002, I graduated from NYU with a degree in film and a desire to know where I came from.
You are crazy, very crazy. From the day you started college, you took a stupid course.
Why? Why do you say that? You're not glad I'm a filmmaker?
No.
If you had it your way, what would you like me to be?
Something different.
Like what?
I don't know, accounting, business, medical.
I was born in Guyana. My family moved to the United States in the mid-1980s. This makes us twice removed. Dad, do you think I'm crazy?
No. That's one of the best fields in the world.
Why?
In my book, that's the #1 field, how I see it. Because it will bring to people's eyes what they never see. And they will see it and have an opportunity to analyze it and know the world.
When I surrendered my Guyanese passport, I became an American citizen. But does this make me American? I don't look American, and I don't feel Guyanese. I've always been told that India is my family's homeland, but I don't know anything about India.
I left for Vietnam because the country was bad. You have to keep vigilante group. People were breaking down houses, and I was scared to live there.
Jobs weren't there, food wasn't there. A lot of people were living in poverty, so that leads to crime.
When we left Guyana, I was too young to understand why my parents and countless other Guyanese would pick up and flee the country of their birth. My family has never been back.
There was a town called Wismar. When the government then burned down the whole town, killed almost all the Indians, people raped the Indians and displaced them, chased them out from that town.
Today, New York City is home to a thriving Indo-Guyanese community. For most of us, India is a long-forgotten memory, yet we've preserved our distinct culture and religious traditions. These are the traditions we've brought with us from India. But what did we leave behind? Who did we leave behind? These are the questions I've always wanted answered. I'm told that my Indian ancestors' ship records may be housed in Guyana. This is where my search must begin. Do you miss your sister?
Of course I miss my sister. I haven't seen her in about 17 or 18 years. I have lots of families over there that I haven't seen. Lots of them have died. My whole generation is dying over there and I haven't seen them and it's sad.
Would you come with me?
No.
You can still come with me. You can still come with me. No. My mom's gonna come with me. Come with me. You haven't seen your sister in 18 years.
I don't want to go. I'm scared. I have a fear of going to that. I don't know how to break that fear.
Dad, are you scared that I'm going to Guyana?
No. Wherever there's a will, there's a way. God will protect you if your will is strong. Even if you die a hero, it's better than dying a coward. If you're going for a mission, your mission will be accomplished with God in your mind. And if you have God, He will protect the way.
Today, more than 20 million Indians are spread across the world. Many left during the European colonization of India. They went to countries like Malaysia, Singapore, to the far corners of the Pacific, to Fiji, New Zealand, to Australia. Today, Indians are the majority population in Mauritius. They live in Reunion Islands, in South Africa. In more recent years, mass populations have migrated to the Gulf region, settling in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates. Indians live in the Netherlands, in the United Kingdom. They've made their homes on the opposite end of the world. Canada has a large, vibrant Indian community. The United States is home to over 1.5 million Indians. Large communities of Indians live all over the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Guyana, and countless others.
The British used to say that the sun never sets on the British Empire. The sun did set on the British Empire, and the British Empire is no more. But I say that the sun never sets on the Indian diaspora. The Indian diaspora is scattered and spread over the whole world.
Tell me what you know about India.
In India, I did not know about India. I did not know about India.
When you were in school, they teach you about India? Nothing?
Nothing.
Do you ever want to go to India to find out where your family came from?
Can't find out. I can't find me. I have no address. We have nothing. So we can't know which state, which place. Can't find them. I know parents who maybe in India I'll die out and so on. We don't know them. No, we don't know them.
I haven't stepped on this soil in like 18 years. Here we go. Oh.
The British ruled Guyana as recently as 1966. They called it British Guyana. From 1838 to 1920, over 200,000 Indians migrated to British Guyana to supply the labor force on the sugar plantations following the emancipation of black slaves in 1834.
When the immigrants came here, true, you find that India had a lot of problems. There were push factors which caused a lot of these people to, let us say, offer to come to the new world, to Guyana. Push factors in the sense that India as a vast country with overpopulation, with famine, with diseases, with poverty and so on. Some of them expected a better way of life. So when they came across the Kalapani, you find that they had to adjust to a new way of life. They had to adjust to a new environment. They had to survive on the plantations. Just imagine the situation in those days. First of all, when they were assigned to the fields, they were given a very unrealistic task, a very hard task, which they had to complete within the day. If they failed to complete the task, they were fined. You had arbitrary reduction of wages.
They were called indentured labor, but the indentured labor was only a euphemism for slave labor. This is the story of the greatest sorrow and tragedy. The story of the Indian diaspora is the story of grit, the story of adventure, the story of tremendous hard work. As a poet in Mauritius wrote once, that when they dug, they did not always find gold or silver, but every stone they turned was turned into gold or silver for that country.
Sugarcane is Guyana's largest industry. It's the reason black slaves were brought here. It's the reason we were brought here. My dad has worked on these fields. My grandfather has worked here. My great-grandfather has worked here. This is my dad's brother, Buddy. He works for Gaisuco, or Guyana Sugarcane Company. I've asked him to show us around the fields. Oh, and it before the government.
Bookers.
Bookers. They were English people. They were good people?
Well, if you study history, they're going to tell you whether Bookers was good or bad. So when Booker come here and them find out that cane can grow successful, the problem is that the people that were living here, they can fish, they can farm, but they can't, cut and load cane or work in the cane field. So they had to find people from countries that were growing cane, and that was in Africa and India.
You remember my dad there?
Yeah. Your dad used to be a punt checker.
How long my dad worked for?
He worked not too long. Worked about 10 years.
The fight for Guyana's independence saw two main leaders, Dr. Cheddi Jagan of the People's Progressive Party and his once comrade and PPP member, Forbes Burnham, who formed his own party, the People's National Congress. During this time, Guyana split along racial lines. The blacks and Indians, who shared a common history, were now bitterly divided. Blacks almost always voted for Burnham and the PNC, and Indians for Jagan and the PPP. Burnham aligned himself with the US and Britain, and following the country gaining independence, he took control of Guyana. He ruled for the next 28 years. During this time, living in Guyana meant living in fear and insecurity.
That was a very difficult period in our country. It was characterized by huge economic problems, political repression, and there was this air of hopelessness. Just to give you an example, in that period, several things were prohibited, foodstuff. So if the police found you with, say, bread made from wheat or roti made from wheaten flour, they could lock you up. In fact, they locked up a lot of people. So many people across Guyana became criminals, largely because of what they ate.
By the end of the PNC rule in 1992, Guyana was bankrupt and depleted of its human resources, with $90 billion in foreign debt. It was the second poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere. We left in the 1980s when Guyana hit an all-time low. We were part of one of the largest exodus in history. Regardless of all its flaws, Guyana is still the land my forefathers were brought to. This was their home.
You know them picnics? Yes.
But today I come back to see you because last night I couldn't see you.
Oh, you can see me.
Okay.
Yes, Betty.
So grandmother, tell me, what year were you born?
Did you about 9?
19. You born 1919?
Yes.
9, so that's 4. That's 9, that's 8. She's 84 years
84
old.
years
You are 84 years old.
In her 85th birthday. This is like a palace compared to what they were used to live before. Why? What she had done program over there.
So it's
and she want to trace. She come in and I have with her intention like for young trace where her grandparents and so on come from.
Then grandparents, me didn't know where they come from better, but me know me daddy and me mommy are Guyanese, but me grandmother them.
Oh, you mama and papa?
Guyana.
Born in Guyana?
Yes, but me don't know which place. Me think,
your mom and dad is from here, but your grandparents.
yes.
They're from India.
Them da from
Sital
India.
PERSAUD. My grandpapa was named Sital PERSAUD.
Well, now my grandfather too.
Yes.
Yes.
Them come from India?
Yes, them come from India. My just Tel Aviv.
What do we have here? This is a prove.
We get some Sital PERSAUD and date of birth.
This is will number 5 of 1941 in the estate of Situl PERSAUD. You see, they have a wrong spelling.
This is British Guyana. Wow.
Yes.
Will number 5. This
So
is
probably these can help, you know.
yes.
Will number 5 of 1941. You go to the archives.
Immigrant will.
All right. You're getting somewhere.
I'm getting somewhere.
You're getting somewhere.
Is the thing.
So maybe this man Sital PERSAUD, maybe he was born in India. What do you think?
I think so.
This man, let it be it known that the above named Sital
Died
PERSAUD.
on the 25th of January 1940.
1940. He was born in 18 something.
Well, 1886.
Is
It
his-
means that is birthday.
Maybe that's his birthday. The trip to Berbice was successful. We found the will of Sital PERSAUD, my mother's father's father's father, who died November 25th, 1940. Sital was born in India. I'm hoping this new piece of evidence will take me one step closer to knowing where I come from. With this new information, I again teamed up with Professor Totamangar. The British kept detailed records of each ship and every indentured immigrant they brought from India. These records are my only bridge to India. Finding my family's ship records would be the key to our lost history. Oh my God, what's that? What's that? That's his name.
Yes, by S-I-T-O, Sital.
Sital. P-E-R-S. On this day, we found the records needed to take us back to India. I finally have proof that I'm Indian. More importantly, these records show me exactly where my forefathers migrated from. We found the records of my mother's lineage, Sital PERSAUD and his parents Gamani and Deratia. They left India in 1886 from Muzaffarpur district in Bihar. They all left from the ports of Calcutta.
So these two families were part of a huge, large exodus of migrant labor workers, 2.53 million people who were exported from the port of Calcutta, which is called Garden Reach. We have an address here, 8 Garden Reach. We are going to shoot the exact place where they were given the certificates. It's not your story alone. It's a story of a huge, large migration which has no parallel. Maybe African slavery, of course it is, but it's a huge, largest export of human laborers from India took place. Now, 125 years after you coming back here, now we are going to do this. The first batch of migrants in 1838, February, 2 ships, Whitby and Hesperus, left Garden Reach, Calcutta. It was like horrible. The state of the living condition, working conditions of the people who were taken. There was no formal recruitment, but the people were just picked up from here and there, put it on the ship, and they burned. Every evening, the captain in charge, the invariably white man, they will put a bell, tuck, tuck, tuck. Then everybody has to come on the board. And everybody has to dance, to do some physical exercise. You know the number of people killed? Massive riot on the ship. You know how many people committed suicide? Large number. You know, number of ships disappeared. There's no record, no story, nothing. We're talking about sugar industry, which is oil of 19th century. And the people who were controlling sugar cultivation and sugar rum and whole production of rum and sugar, they were the planter class. They were very powerful.
These red buildings were the last place that they were, my forefathers and everyone else that left during that period. This is where they were. This is where they were last housed before they got on the ships, the Jahaj, as they called it, and sailed down the Hooghly River to never ever return again. These are the last images of India my forefathers would have seen, the last images millions of Indians would have seen before they were packed off and dispersed throughout the entire world for indentured servitude. During the British occupation, India's northeast was under tight British control. Major labor recruitment happened here, in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. This was also the site for many Indian uprisings, including the 1857 Sepoy Mutiny. The economic oppression of colonialism gave the Indians little choice but to accept their role in the new system of slavery. They became indentured servants for the British Empire and were exported to the colonies throughout the world.
Madam ji, welcome to Muzaffarpur. Welcome. Another 15 minutes, another 10-15 minutes.
Why are you covering your head?
Foggy, complete foggy.
It's foggy?
Yeah, it's very
Is it
cold.
cold outside?
Yeah, come on outside. Have a look. It's your ancestral place, girl. You should be like, you should get along with well, but more than any of us. This is your place.
Does that sign say Muzaffarpur?
It's over.
Once upon a time, my forefathers were roaming around this exact place. And I cannot believe I'm here.
The Muzaffarpur district was a very important district during the East India Company, both for recruitment and for the trade. And this used to be the violent scene of the nationalist struggle. 2 Englishmen, very important Englishmen, were killed here, bombed, and a lot of it's politically quite sensitive.
You're from Muzaffarpur?
Yes.
Me too. This is my mother. My mother's father's is Sital Persad, and he's from Muzaffarpur. And he left in the year 1886 to go to Guyana.
We go there, and she hasn't seen the relatives, and they haven't seen her. So we are going to film that.
I don't know how I feel. I mean, it's like, this is not a little project that I'm working on anymore by myself. It's a huge project now, and there's armed police officers with guns with us, and a whole convoy of them, not just 1 or 2. And so we're actually going into these villages that are remote and where nothing has changed. And it's just like a huge culture shock, and I mean, I'm excited, but it's just a little shocking as well.
सामने पीछे 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 ए लड़का हट इधर
तू फोटो आई तो खिरे ना बन
मिल गया यहाँ सर
Oh my God. What do I do? What do I do? I don't know. Where do I go?
Go.
Where's the tripod?
Suresh.
वो ड्राइवर का
ठीक है you go.
What do I do? What do I do?
गुमानी देवरतिया का बेटी गुमानी और देवरती आपका दादा के जो सात भाई थे ना उसमें से एक भाई था गुमानी
I don't know what to say.
बता रहे थे अभी अफसर को भी बता रहे थे वो गुमानी का गुमानी का औरत का नाम थे देवरती।
हाय नमस्ते नमस्ते आइए आइए आइए
बाहर ही बैठा है बाहर की तरफ अंदर अंधेरा है
कुर्सी ला ना कुर्सी कैसे कैसे याद पड़ गया यहाँ
पूछो मैं बताऊंगा सब
अच्छा
नहीं आप बोलिए आप जो भी बोलना मैं इनको हिंदी समझ में नहीं आती मैं बता दूंगा
मैंने समझ आई छिन्ना एक कुर्सी ला ना कुर्सी दीपा और कुर्सी ले ला अरे इन्हें
हमारे पत्नी ये
एक जबड़ होने देखो सब आदमी अपना इन्हें सब आदमी
He is the eldest member here.
Which one?
This gentleman here, this man here.
सब भाई में हम बड़ा भाई हैं
इनका दादा मतलब grandfather he remembered the story his grandfather told him about his father's 7 brothers and
it does make sense. It does make sense. So his grandfather told him a story about his father. Okay. So he's Tetram's cousin because his grandfather would have been Sital Persad, and it would have been Sital Persad's father and his brothers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's right.
So he's
Sital
cousins.
Persad's father name is Gumani.
Right.
Gumani is one of the 7 brothers.
One of the 7 brothers.
Who
so his grandfather told him about Gumani and his 7 brothers.
गुमानी यहाँ से चले गए गयाना है दक्षिण अमेरिका में एक राज्य वहाँ पे जो गन्ने का जो काम है ना गन्ने का काम करने गए वहाँ पे मतलब यहाँ का औरत और लड़के को लेके गए वहाँ से वो आने चाहते थे भारत में लेकिन आ नहीं पाए तो वहाँ पे सेटल हो गए मतलब हाँ घर बना के
So wait a minute. So what's his name?
बागाई
भादाई पासवान
बधाई
BHADI
बधाई
Badai Paswan is, let's see.
Badai Paswan should be of your grandfather's kind of cousin.
He's 3rd cousins with my grandfather. 3rd cousins of my grandfather. Suresh, do they have records?
I mean, you know, nobody cares to remember. First of all, it is impossible to. They are very busy with their day-to-day life. Who died, they died. That's it. It's impossible to keep the record.
So, like, who are these women? My relatives. It's like overwhelming. I'm just like, there's so many people, and it's just, oh my god, it's a little confusing. What am I supposed to do?
They're seeking your blessings by touching your feet.
What do I do?
You bless them. You bless them.
Oh, what do I do? Do I get up? Do I? What? I don't know.
Say namaste.
Namaste. I should touch their feet, right?
Yeah.
Namaste. Namaste. Mind blowing completely. This is the data I found. I went back to Guyana and I found data. I did research and I came back here and I was able to figure out that this is where my family is from.
Ancestral family.
My ancestral land.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, growing up in New York, I didn't know where my family is from. I didn't know anything and I wanted to know.
चलिए हमारा जापाने नगरी घर बाहर बाबा दुआरा बाहर.
It's difficult to see the descendants of my forefathers living in India like this today. Their lives are very different from mine. I have to ask myself, am I glad that my forefathers left? Have I benefited? Would this be my life had we stayed in India?
What is progress? What is decay? How would you define progress? Or how would you say, well, this is decaying, you know? Britishers came to our country, they say, well, Indian society is very unprogressive. It's in a state of decline. It's a declining civilization, right? They had their own perception of what progress means. They thought that progress would mean introduction of railways in India. Progress would mean introduction of English education in India. Introduction of convent education in India. The villagers said, what these schools are going to teach us, our children. Will these schools teach our children sanskar? They said, no, not really. They said, we are not interested in sending our children to these convent schools. If they are not going to teach our children how to be a good human being, how to be a good person, how to be loyal to their nation, how to be all these things, this education is no good for us.
It's quite surreal to be on this land, looking back on my family's journey of survival. I've never considered myself a religious person, yet here I am in the center of this most enchanting holy city where Lord Shiva descended. There is something special in this air, something magical. In between touching the feet of my elders and receiving their blessings, something happened to me. I wanted to do something I never would have imagined. I wanted to have a puja, a Hindu religious ceremony, on this ground, which my family called home for thousands of years. This is my land.
If you're going for a mission, your mission will be accomplished with God in your mind. And if you have God, He will protect the way and make sure your mission is complete and successful.
My dad always tells me that, and because my dad's never stopped me from going to film school or doing whatever it is I wanted to do. And he's always said to me, self-realization is the key to happiness. So you have to do what you want to do always in order to be happy. What we found was the ruins of a home that Sita Prasad must have lived in. So we're gonna go to that place today and set up.
ओम महापूर्णा देवी प्रावत सुपूर्णा प्राप्त यम को सक्तो पूर्ण पात्रम सकाम एक बार पेंसुल सत्यनारायण भगवान की जय।
I mean, the police is asking. Police
And then
asking.
leave because it's getting
You
out of
have to
control.
leave. That's what he says. Let's do it.
This is for the bacha. This is just for the children. This is just for the children.
नंबर है ना फोन कर दो
This is just for the shawl.
Just put it on.
एक आदमी को दे दीजिए, एक आदमी को ओढ़ा दो।
पूरी आदमी को ओढ़ाना दो।
बड़की का है, बड़की।
हटो, चलो हटो, तुम हटो पहले। चलो हटो।
बड़की कहाँ है? बड़की कहाँ है?
चलो।
The eldest lady.
अरे किसी एक आदमी को अति कर देंगे। हाँ, सबसे बड़ा यह है।
गला में छोटा छोटा
एक बच्चे
हो गया रंदे
हो गए
चलिए
चलिए
Okay. Let's go.
आगे से हटवाइए। धीरे धीरे निकलिए, धीरे धीरे जाइए जाइए बाबा, अब जाइए।
Oh, they're being pushed to the side.
फिर आगे लोग इधर हाँ बाहर से चलिए।
Whoever so come, they always treat you like your family members. It doesn't matter whether you are or you're not. For them, you are the family member, and they treat you as a guest, as a god. The kind of tradition you showed them that you wanted to do a puja means for NRIs, non-resident Indians, they come here, they spend 1 or 2 hours, and they went off. But you insisted to have puja on the ancestors' land. Puja is a lot mean for Indians. It means you wanted to join with your roots. You wanted to make a relation between two families, and they hope to make a relation through you.
आपको क्या लगे आज तक?
मैंने पहले बता दिया इनको, सारा बात रास्ते में बताइए। रास्ते में हमारी इनकी बातचीत हुई है, सारी बात बताइए।
He's very happy. He's very happy that you have come and you did a puja, and he's very happy. And he blessed you. Or may I also blessed you. Don't worry. I've been blessing you. So don't worry. हमेशा मेरा आशीर्वाद है ना?
Again come here. दोबारा फिर आएंगे।
Everyone died. The rich, poor didn't matter.
Everyone dies.
Yeah, somebody born today, tomorrow he dies, somebody 1 year after die, 1 minute after die, 1 second after die. Who are born, anyone, human being, animals, Everyone die one time.
Tvam vande gomati priyam. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate
Thank you, everyone, for sitting through my my film. I wanted to just acknowledge someone who was very helpful to me, Mr. Ashok Ramsaran. He's here today, and he was so supportive and so helpful to me when I made this film. Him and the entire organization of GOPIO, and in Inder Singh, the late and great Inder Singh, I should say, they were so very helpful to me, and so many people. There's too many people that helped me to list. I see David Abidine is also here. I see his name. He was part of that wonderful BBC film that was also made, that was very informative to me when I was researching and just before I started to shoot. So I just wanted to acknowledge a few people who were very helpful and supportive to me. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from some of you, your comments or your questions if you have them.
Thank you, Shundell. That was very, very touching and very moving. It was riveting and heartfelt. So thank you so much. If there's anyone who, oh, okay, I see Dr. Sita Shahrukh has a question. Go ahead. You can unmute. Dr. Sita? Oh, cannot unmute. Oh, okay. Let me see if I can help. Ravan, is there anywhere we can unmute?
Okay, so I was just able to unmute. So when Shundell came to Guyana, so Dr. Yesu Prasad asked me to give me the film. And so I interviewed, it was our anniversary. I can't remember which one of, I think it was in 2011 or 2012, or maybe even 2013, when we had our 5th of May celebration. And so I interviewed Yesu Prasad and showed her film on the Guyana Learning Channel, which I had just set up as a countrywide television station, educational television station. And then we had a launch of the film at the Monument Gardens. And I don't know if she remembered that, because I was told that she's now completing her degree. And this was a part of the process. That's what I was told. So, and that was from Dr. Yesu Prasad.
It doesn't ring a bell, but I met Dr. Yesu Prasad. He was lovely. I know that he was at the Pravati Bharatiya Divas. He was honored with the, I don't know the name, the name of the award that they give, but he's such an icon in the Guyanese people. And yeah, I don't recall exactly that, but if he was there, it was in company with him, I'm sure it was fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, yes, you didn't turn up. I didn't know why you hadn't come to the showing, but it was broadcast. I broadcast it on, I assume so, because I was told that you were, but I didn't meet you. I was told that you were meeting persons. You were with Tota, you were with Yesu, and so anyway. So, but I could only recall the beginning part of the film. So I wondered if you completed the film after leaving Guyana.
It was about 20 years ago. I don't remember exactly what
It was in
the timeline.
2011, 2013, between 2011 to 2013. So it wasn't 20 years ago.
Oh no, so this film was done. I feel like I may have been shooting a different film around 2020.
The first scenes were there.
The 2012, I was in 2010-ish, I was in Guyana shooting Festival of Lights, which is my feature film, like with actors and all, non-documentary. I was shooting that film in Guyana. It was with Jimmy Mystery and Melinda Shankar, and Aidan Quinn, which he's a well-known American actor. So maybe it was that. I don't remember.
Okay, so
but thank you.
But
for
the
all
first
your
part of the
support.
film with the shots that you took in India, in Calcutta, the part where you were actually on the port looking out on the water, all those shots were in because I re-edited it so that it could fit in within the time frame that I had, and to broadcast, because remember it was broadcast countrywide throughout Guyana on the network, but not the entire thing. I never saw the entire thing. I just saw maybe the first 10 minutes.
So this was the entire piece for this film. All right. So this was 20 years ago, Shundell. Yes.
It was almost, not quite. I started it when I was graduating from NYU, and I graduated in 2002. And yeah, so that's been 20 years. But then, I made a little bit, I raised some money. I went to Guyana, I raised some more money. I went to India, and then I raised some more money to edit the film. So it took a couple of years, but the whole thing has been in the 20-year time frame-ish, something like that.
But this was beautiful. Thank you so very much for sharing it. I see David Clark has his hand raised. David?
Hold on, solo CN2. I'm so sorry that you didn't send me the Zoom link on the Indio forum, the Indio WhatsApp forum. But so I had to call it individually to get it, and I was able to get it. So I'm so sorry you all couldn't send it this weekend.
Yes, there were some technical difficulties down to the last moments of this program. So we do apologize, everyone. But we have gotten the program on, and this is absolutely wonderful. So we had Mr. GIDEON HANOOMANSINGH and SHUNDELL PERSAUD sharing their films and their moments and their experiences and their stories with us. So we want.
So if I may,
right
Shakira,
ahead.
if
Go
I
ahead.
may, before we end off, let me congratulate Shundell. It's been 20 almost years since the film, and quite naturally, from what we've seen, emotions are still very high because it is a story that will continue. It is a part of us that will live on forever. I visited India on 2 occasions with 2 prime ministers, one in Uttar Pradesh, the other one in Bihar. And I met with their ancestors, and the emotions created continue to live with all of us. The extent of your research, one has to congratulate you. Your willingness to be one with your ancestral homeland is priceless. The reception you received from your relatives there and the friends who gathered when I went to Bihar with Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, and I think Shundell, I shared that with you in Bihar Ki Beti, and it's available to anyone. All those emotions were real, was surreal. I think forever, I understand that the former Prime Minister, every moment she gets to replay that video of her meeting her ancestors and the home of her ancestors, she would not miss an opportunity to share it with whomever. These things are so very, very important, not only for us who have ancestors in India, but I remember the security detail with first Prime Minister Basdev Pandey, an Afro-Trinidadian security officer. He was in tears, saying that all of what he had witnessed in Lakmanpur reminded him so much of his story and his ancestors in Africa. So, you know, these documentaries are so important. The story will continue to be told because there is so much to tell about the Indian story and our part of the world in making that connection and that connectivity. So Shundell, congratulations once again.
Thank you all so very much for joining us today. And thank you to our presenters for their time, your sacrifice, effort, your expertise, and your availability for being here. And this meeting is being recorded live and would be uploaded later after editing to YouTube permanently for posterity. So we will now close the program. We would like to remind everyone we are still looking for more Indian elders over 80 years old to interview live for our series. And we are asking their children and grandchildren to help us in this oral history project. Thank you all for taking the time to participate.
So may I ask one question very quickly before you end?
Yes, go right ahead.
So Shundell, after seeing the outcome of your film, does your mother still hold the view that you chose the wrong career path?
Always. She's very supportive, but typical, you know, Guyanese Indian family, you know, they want you to be a doctor or a lawyer. I'm sure now that I'm a parent myself, I have 2 little girls, I understand. Filmmaking, as you know, is a risky business. Hollywood is called risky business. So we always, I think because we as a people have gone through so much trauma for hundreds of years, the need to feel settled and stable is so strong, and we want that for our children more than anybody else. So even though I've been working in film and TV and made a decent living for the past 20 years, there's part of her that still wishes I had become an accountant or a nurse or something like that.
But you have the support of your dad.
Yes, he's always supportive.
Of course. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for all the really touching, nice comments.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you all next Sunday. Dhanyabad.